embellished. This needs nothing at all. Let me introduce to you my second favourite matchup in Milton Keynes today, Neil Foulds and Jimmy White. And James, the snooker gods have shone down on us. They've given us this blessing today. We just need to praise them.
Absolutely. You know, you've got two players, both playing at their peak of their career, both, like, scoring heavy, both got, rivals, shall we say, with each other. They're all about even on everything. You know, I can't wait for this match. I've no idea who's going to win, but I know it's going to be a classic. Yeah,
and you know what? Jimmy's exactly right, Neil, because we always hope for a great Triple Crown final. We can almost expect.
Yeah, and I think we've been seeing this final for a couple of days now after the semi-finals, and even the way that these two got through those matches, they're both playing at the top of their game, and that's unusual at snooker. You know, they're both right at the peak of their powers. And as Jimmy says, it's one of those where the best part about it is we really do not know at this stage who will win.
Yeah, well, listen, last night after the fairly straightforward semi-finals, the Marshall Arena emptied and the 7-time UK champion, Ronnie O'Sullivan and myself, just enjoyed the silence and got excited about what lies ahead. Ronnie, everyone has went home. It's just you and me. We always like to have a couple of frames at the end of the night. Tomorrow can't come quick enough. This is the dream final, and the way they're playing, we could remember it for a long time, fingers crossed.
Yeah, it's, every time they play, they have such unbelievable games, you know, heavy scoring. You know, the English Open was a spectacular match. And again, you know, it's going to be guaranteed to see some just top quality snooker.
Talk to me about the evolution of Judd Trump from this amazing talent who was at his best brilliant, but also quite erratic, to this winning machine over the last couple of seasons, title after title after title.
Yeah, I think he's had to change his game, obviously. You know, his brothers, I think, made it clear to him that, you know, he can't take so many high-risk chances, and sometimes there's no need to take that. Just try and be a little bit more patient, improve the safety game. That then puts less pressure on you having to pop big balls all the time and winning frames in one visit, because if you're nicking a lot of them frames, you know, you just think, well, it doesn't matter how the game goes, I'm confident of mixing it in any style, really. So, and then that just builds confidence, and you start to win matches that you normally lost, and then the penny starts to drop to think, OK, well, I've got to keep doing this. So you can tell by, you know, he's not like lashing balls around like he used to. He does at the end of the match, but, you know, during the game when it means something, it's very clinical stuff.
Neil Robertson told me that he doesn't think he's playing at his best. He thinks he's playing even better.
Yeah, I was going to say.
He says that Judd's the reason for that. He knows he has to.
Yeah, no, I definitely think they've got like this subliminal, whatever we want to call it, rivalry going on, where one's made 3 tons and Judd's thinking, well, I want to make 3, at least 3. And I just definitely think that's going on. That's what happens, you know, like when I was playing with Higgins and Williams, you've always got one eye on what they're doing, and it always motivates you to work harder at your game, because they're your hardest opponents. And I just think Neil and Judd are seeing, you know, it's just a healthy rivalry, and that's what I see it as. It's a healthy rivalry. It's not a horrible rivalry. They kind of like they're appreciative of each other being around at the same time and making them elevate their game to higher levels because of one another. You know.
Who wins?
I think Neil's played the better snooker all week. I think Neil's due a win at some point. I think the snooker gods are going to make that happen at some point. But there's one opponent that I just think that can ruffle Neil, and that's Judd.
We've a couple more frames to play to your break. I'm 2 up.
OK.
Good luck.
Let's go.
Hard to come down on one side or the other, and this head-to-head is not going to clear it up. Let's look at the bottom line. It shows Trump with the edge, 12-9, but you always have to dig a little deeper in the stats. In matches over best of 11, Judd actually is lead grows to 6-2. In Triple Crown events, that lead is 4-1. The last 4 times they've met, it's 2 apiece. And 3 of those, Neil, have been finals. It just ups the excitement levels even more.
Yes, and 2 of those finals are memorable ones, not only the English Open, but the Champion of Champions final of 2019. I don't quite know how Neil Robertson won that match. At one point, he needed a snooker. It was an extraordinary game, but there's been so many of such finals in the last year or 2 that were sport for choice with them.
Jimmy, the one that's freshest in our mind is that English Open final, which went to a decider, and Judd Trump was just masterful.
It was incredible, that match. He was 7-4 down. Neil Robertson was all over him, scoring, and he just hanged in there. Then it went 8 apiece. He pots this long red. He goes on, I'm not quite sure, I think he made over 100, Colin. and he ended up winning that match. How he's won that game, I don't know, because he was just outplayed the whole way. But that's the super confidence. He's still in there, he still had a shout, and he kept winning the important frames.
Neil just broke off. Then Judd Trump put in the highest break of the match for him, 114. What about that? And the deciding for him, how's that for bottle?
Well, let me tell you, I was on commentary on that match, and that happened quite a lot during it as well. Like, there were many frames where, Neil would get in off of Judd's break, and I actually said afterwards, I'm not even sure if it's an advantage to be breaking off. When these two guys pot long balls, breaking off, and you leave anything out, you've lost a frame. And that happened all the way through that final. It happened about 4 or 5 times.
Well, listen, let's hear from both players. We'll start with Neil Robertson, the most successful non-British player in the history of this sport. It makes it so difficult to call this final because you both seem to be in the perfect place on the table and off it. Do you fancy it today?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, look, however you look at it, he's making me a better player. He's making me more professional. The last couple of years, our manager's sort of been telling me how much he's practicing and all this sort of stuff, and it's kind of like woken me up. Look, I can't take my foot off the gas at all. And so, even though he's beat me in a couple of finals, I won the Champions final we had last season, he's making me a better player, and so I'm grateful for that because, yes, it's really important to win as many titles as you can, but I think it's also important as a human being to be as good as what you can possibly be with what you've been gifted with, When
it comes to our shot at the championship, we had to really struggle to leave some of his long putts out this week.
Yeah, I mean, Judd's capable of knocking in a ball from anywhere, and sometimes when he's backed into a corner, that's when he's most dangerous because he's got like an incredible amount of acceleration as soon as he hits the ball. He's got a very loose grip. And so he can create this sort of backspin out of nowhere where you think he's not really capable of screwing the white back, but he can. So it's just important that, when you play safe, you've got to make him accountable. Even those shots, if he misses it, is there a good chance that he's going to leave something up? And that's for me to kind of work out when we play out there in the final.
This, of course, is best of 19 now. All the pundits are predicting it going all the way. The big question is, have you got enough blue drink to get through it?
Yeah, I do. The last 4 or 5 years, really taking really good care of my health and very conscious of what I'm eating and making sure I'm not feeling too flat when I play. And that's ultra important when you're playing in finals, when you're playing in multiple session events.
I just hope the final's a treat. I think it absolutely will be. Best of luck to you.
Cheers, mate. Thanks.
Off the table, he's 38 years old. That is hard to believe. He is a walking advertisement for healthy eating, by the way. On it, he says, Jimmy, I'm not playing the best snooker of my career. I'm maybe playing even better than that.
That's scary for us snooker players and most of his opponents. It won't bother Trump. What I like about Neil Robertson, he played in this year's World Championship and he tried to play Mark Selby at his own game. Tried to play a bit more tactical. And what he did in this tournament, he dismantled him, and that means he's trying to improve his game all the time. And for me, a couple of times he was behind. He was playing McGill, he was 4-2 down, put his foot on the gas and just produced 4 brilliant frames. He was never going to... He never seems to be under pressure at the moment. Very comfortable with everything about his game.
Hard to choose his best performance, but given what Jimmy said about that World Championship matchup, you probably do lean towards how he's beaten Selby here.
Yeah, I think that was his best. I don't think it's as difficult to choose as all that. He's played well all week. The Selby game was outstanding because people don't do to Selby what he did. As Jimmy said, the World Championship was the one time he lost to him. Selby was getting back into the match at this point. He'd been perfect for 3 frames. This was 3-2. That ready knocked in was making the score 4-2 because he won the frame from there, and he almost took the match away from Selby because I think Mark knew really that Robertson was playing a bit too well for him, after that, and then he just went on with it and knocked that long in. You see, the thing is, he's got such an all-round game now. His safety is very, very tight. He's very circumspect, but then he knocks in fantastic long balls, and this was how he played in this match. And I know that Mark Selby was a little bit shell-shocked after it, I think, because people don't do that to him. If you beat Mark Selby, you've been in a bit of a war, but this actually was a comfortable win.
With Triple Crown titles, you can say it very plainly. It's been too long for Neil Robertson. The golden period between 2010 and 2013, he won one of each. And then, of course, a few years later, won a second UK's.
Yeah, as he says in his interview there, Trump being under the same management as Judd Trump, and then finding out how hard Judd Trump worked. This is when he made a 147 when he beat Wemba. I think it was 2015.
Yeah.
It is a long time, but, there's been some great players in his way. Selby, Ronnie O'Sullivan. But Judd Trump has only won one of these UK championships. So, this tournament, they'd both be giving it 100%, both be dreaming of winning this tournament tonight.
If he does win it, Rob, he's just short change away from being world number 2 ahead of Ronnie. That's the type of purple patch he's in.
He's in a very good run of form. There's no question about it. I noticed the bookmakers had him slightly against favourite. And I'll tell you why that is, right? We built him up all the way along. He hasn't won anything since the start of February. He's in a lot of finals. Judd's won 5 tournaments since then. Yeah. That's why Judd is favourite. He's been winning and Robertson's been getting to the finals and losing. That is the one thing that is against his chance if you could find anything.
Yeah, it's the 2020 UK Championship final live on Eurosport. What a great day to lock the door and be socially distant. When we come back after the break, we'll hear from the world number 1.
Judd, I heard you saying that this has not always been your favourite tournament. Of course, you have won it, 2011. Seems a long time ago now. You've improved out of all recognition since then. In what ways do you think you're a better player these days?
I think just the self-belief, really. Just being able to dig in when I'm not at my best and just get over the line. Also, when it gets down to the business end, maybe 7 or 8 all deciding frames, I seem to be able to make one visit a lot more frequently than before. And just stay out of trouble. I think my cue ball's improved quite a bit as well, and a lot more centuries than maybe sort of 9 or 10 years ago.
It's looked like you were going to be playing Neil Robertson in the final, to be honest. But I guess you both had to go and do the job still. It wasn't going to be given to you, was it?
Yeah, I think the draw, even though a few people got knocked out, it was still tough. Obviously, I had Kyron and Neil had Mark Selby, so they could have both been easily finals, and it was nice to get through that one. And obviously a couple of low-ranked players that we were both expected to win, but you still got to go out there and do it. And I feel like I've just sort of saved my best, really. Hopefully I can go out there tomorrow and really produce. Neil's been sort of knocking tons in for fun the whole tournament, so he's going to be full of confidence, but it all seems to be close with us too.
I mean, you played him in this very building, didn't you, a few weeks ago in the English Open. And to be honest, there didn't seem to be an awful lot between you on the night, hardly any, just a shot here or there.
Yeah, it's always the same, really. It's always close up until a point, and then someone has to do something spectacular to beat each other. And it's the same thing. If you miss, the frame's over, you just sit down, and it's the same for both of us, really. So, I mean, the start of the game's always a tiny little bit cagey. You're just trying to figure each other out and not give away any mistakes, and then normally when after the first couple of frames, then it's just sort of scoring for fun and great safety.
I think we're all really looking forward to it. Have a brilliant final, the pair of you.
Cheers.
Well, Neil Foulds, he's talked this week about being in second or third gear, yet he's played shots and frames and matches that have left us punching the air and scratching our heads.
That's what he does now. I mean, he's always had that ability to do that. He used to call it naughty snooker, but now he's channeled it all in the right direction. And looking at those matches, they're not easy matches that he's had to win. The likes of Ricky Walden is a very good player. Players of that kind, Leanne Wenbo, who of course has beaten him in a final. I suppose the Kyron Wilson match in the quarterfinals, given that Kyron had beaten him a couple of times this season and in the World Championships, was a match that he probably wasn't looking forward to particularly, because that is someone who beats him, and he put him away quite nicely. He did the damage very early in that match.
You look at the most powerful things in sport, Jimmy. Number 2, Lewis Hamilton's car. Number 1, Judd Trump's cue.
Make no mistake, and he's not just winning these matches, he's dismantling the players. And, whenever anyone gets close, he just seems to go away again and score heavy at the right time. This is a fantastic shot, cue power on the brown. There's only a few players in the game that can play that shot now. Yeah,
no, and he's one of them for sure. And it's the controlled way he played it. There's another shot he's going to play we're going to see, which is extraordinary here, because this is if all else fails. He's got no other shot there. That is an amazing piece of cueing, It's something quite special to be able to do that with. I mean, I've seen players maybe try that shot, but with control. This is the cue power he's got. There's a few players that could do this, but he's got a lot of strings to his bow. You know, he's got the ability to get that cue ball right down the other end of the table if he wants to. He can hit the balls with great pace, and I think it's because his cue speed through the ball is quite amazing. You know, that cue is going at his quickest at the very split second he strikes the white ball, and that is an art to even do that.
In the mid-session, we're doing shot of the championship. I would absolutely hate to be putting that together. I wouldn't have a clue how to do it. Jimmy, what he has above all of that for me now is the pragmatism of a true champion and the dedication of a true champion.
Yeah, he's obviously changed his lifestyle. We don't know too much about that. Bringing his brother into it, I know we go on about it. But for me, it's he's tunnelled all this cue power and the shot selection all at the right time and the right situation in matches. And it's just made him such an all-round winner. And that's why he's number one in the world. He's toughest to beat.
Yeah, but make no mistake, and he might not say it openly, he'll be pragmatic about it. He'll say, look, there's the Worlds, there's the Masters, the Champion of Champions, there's loads of tournaments. He hasn't won the UK's in so long, Neil. He must want this maybe more than any other title.
Yeah, I mean, this was one of the big events in 2011 that got him going. You know, he won his first ranking event, the China Open, he won the final of the World Championship, and then this at the end of 2011, and we thought, OK, this is it. He's got the world at his feet. But, you know, he hadn't quite paid his dues. Let's be honest about it. This game is tough. You do get beaten by players. He's had a few bad moments in the World Championships until he went on to win it. And now he's come out of all that stronger. And that's what snooker's all about. You know, you learn more from losing than winning. And now he's a winning machine.
We can hypothesise all we want about this matchup. I've heard it said Judd Trump's running on empty. He's played almost every match for choosing Eurosport and for being part of our dedicated snooker family. And your guardians of the first session, Dominic Dale and Philip Studd.
Unstoppable force meets immovable object. Something has got to give today as these two titans of the game square up once again on one of the most important days on the snooker calendar. Sit back and enjoy.
Just a handshake for the trophy, please. Yeah. No handshake, but just...
Sadly, the handshakes are still prohibited for the time being at least, and that is the magnificent trophy that they are contesting today. 1977, Patsy Fagan won the first UK title, beating Doug Mountjoy for £2,000. Today,
thanks, Katie.
The player who lifts that trophy aloft tonight will pick up a cheque for £200,000. But more than the money, it's about the title, the prestige that goes with it.
When you're ready. Thank you. The first frame, Judd Trump to break.
So Judd Trump to get us underway in what promises to be something extra special. He leads the head, 12 victories to 9. This is their 7th final. He's won 4 of the previous 6, including the most recent 2 that they've contested. Most notably the English Open, when Robertson was outplaying Trump, led 7-4. But the world #1, Dominic, as he's done so often in the last couple of years, dug deep, found something when he needed it, and won the match in the decider via a century.
Yes, good afternoon, Phil. Good afternoon, everybody. Thoroughly looking forward to this final. First session, who can eke out a lead going into tonight's final sessions. Yeah, there's very little to choose between these two players on current form. Both scored very heavily in their respective semi-final victories. Judd does have this knack, though, doesn't he, of finding that extra little gear when the heat's on, when it goes to a deciding frame or very near it. He seems to be able to find something, Judd Trump, that others haven't been able to. But other than that, I really can't separate these two players today, and I think it's going to be a very close, very hotly contested final. It'll all come down to who handles the pressure the best, who can make those important breaks at the right time.
Robertson won his 2nd UK title 5 years ago now. He made 9 centuries in that tournament, beating Mark Selby in the final, having at one stage trailed 5-1 and 6-3. Well, he's already made 10 this week. Trump 7. Trump with a career 755 centuries to Robertson's 753. So that's another battle within a battle.
Yeah, and centuries this season. Neil Robertson's made 38 centuries this season so far. Judd Trump just 37, just one behind. I mean, and that's an extraordinary amount of centuries to have made so early on in the season. But he's under a bit of pressure here already, Judd Trump. This is not going to be an easy escape from the snooker. If he's very tight to this green, getting into that little group of reds next to the pink could be very difficult. But as you can see, they're all detached from one another, so it's very risky even playing that. You can see in that camera shot there, there's about a centimetre gap between green and cue ball. But what can Judd play here? He could rest against the two reds near the left corner pocket, but how does he get the cue ball there?
It's a measure of the quality of this snooker that Trump is taking the best part of 2 minutes to consider his options. That's a rarity in itself. And in the end, it's a hit and hope. And amazingly, he's managed to miss all the reds there.
Neil Robertson 4.
Yeah, had to play that with a lot of power and backspin on the cue ball. If you'd have played that with topspin, that cue ball would have left the table altogether and ended on the floor somewhere. Well, how about this for your first opportunity in the final? The balls could not be placed any better here for Neil Robertson. He's just checked to see if the black's on its spot and that it'll be available once potted. Well, the black wasn't on its spot and it probably won't respot, but there are no other spots available, so it will go as close as possible to this red, I feel. Belgium's Olivier Martial officiating here for us.
Who has his own Triple Crown. Olivier has
8.
officiated World, Masters and UK finals. Judd Trump out of ideas after that very tough snooker, and no joy in trying to get a bit of luck in crashing the cue ball around the table. So the first big chance goes to the Australian.
9.
Purposely left himself just a little low on the black, so in potting it can nudge the red away from the black spot, which will be trying to knock on for the same pocket. Ooh, but he's misjudged it slightly.
60.
Only once has Robertson been in any kind of trouble this week. That was when Anthony McGill led 4-2, but there was no hint of panic. He just settled back into his stride, put together a 4-frame burst, and of course, his victory over Mark Selby was so impressive because of how comprehensive it was.
70.
Selby's considerable skills were nullified by Robertson, who was just too good in all departments as he won 6-2. And it was a similar story against Zhou Yulong, who managed to make a 1-4-1 break, but aside from that, it was pretty much all Robertson.
Give me a second, please.
Well, this could be a real challenge for Olivier Martial. Yeah, this pink has got to go behind a couple of reds there, and Olivier Martial's had to use his ball marker, just remove one of the reds to make placing this pink much easier. Don't see that very often. got to go as close as possible to that red, but without touching it.
The skilled hands of a surgeon. And of course he is a radiology nurse when he's not picking balls out of pockets.
23.
I think he'd have got a round of applause for that if we had a crowd.
Yes, he would have done.
24.
Important in those circumstances, Dominic, that the player who has had their stride pattern broken to some degree by the delay in play keeps focus. But that's not a problem for Robertson.
No, in a situation like that, you just walk around the table a few more times, pretending almost
29.
that you're looking at a difficult situation. It just keeps your mind on the job and you're looking at the table and the balls. But that cannon's just gone slightly astray. You can still cut this red in, fortunately for him, into this left corner, but the cue ball will be running away a little. Well, he killed the pace of the cue ball more
30.
than he thought he could there, and he's landed in no man's land, really. This break's all been a bit of a struggle for Neil, ever since that cannon to the red above the black went slightly wrong. He wanted to knock it on for the left corner and left it very thin, and in the end took a different shot altogether. Well played. That was tough.
$33. Neil Robertson, 33.
Yes, the break was never straightforward for Robertson, and it ends at 33. So Judd Trump's first opportunity.
One.
Well, a fake round of applause, but believe me, Judd Trump won't be applauding himself there. He won't be happy with the cannon to the black. That's gone wrong.
Brown ball.
So the mistake
Took
from
round
Neil
one.
Robertson goes unpunished. Very early days, of course, both players still yet to acclimatise to conditions.
Judd Trump is actually moving back to Bristol shortly. He's buying a new house, going back home, if you will, 11 years after he moved out. He's going to need a new house for all his trophies, Dom. He's won 11 ranking titles in the Masters in the last 2 years.
He can afford one.
I'll say he can. The last 2 completed seasons, he's won in excess of $1 million in prize money on the table. That had never been done. And he's done it 2 seasons back to back. He's already picked up well over 200,000 this season before the prize money on offer here. Put it this way, the Trump clan will be looking forward to Christmas Day.
That safety shot's gone astray for Judd. Both these players are very similar, I feel, in tactical ability. There's not much to choose between them. It's all going to come down to break building. Just maybe a little bit of a run of a ball here and there could make all the difference in this match. They're so closely matched, these two. I think you'd have to say, out the 2 players, the most polished and classiest of the 2, you'd probably give to Neil, of course, but in terms of ability, there's very little to choose between them. But of course, Judd is the one that's winning all the tournaments at the moment, and Neil Robertson has been getting stuck in the final without winning too many, which will displease him, and he'll want to do something about that today. Well, there's an example of what I mean, run of the ball. On another day, that cannon would have worked out perfectly for Neil, and the break would have continued. As it is, I don't think he's on a red at all now.
Neil Robertson, 4.
It's a 14-year rivalry which started in fairly modest circumstances, a round-robin match at the 2006 Grand Prix, which Robertson won 3-1. Of course, it's now built into one of the great modern-day matchups in this sport. Well, it thought about it.
Oh, well, that was a ginormous fluke from Judd. He attempted, I believe, a plant into the left corner. The red he intended to go in didn't. There was another red. Have a look at this. I think it's the second red that goes in. Yeah, a red that cannons a pink. Well, this really is an incredible fluke.
It seemed to hang on the lip of the pocket for an age.
Well, it did. We looked at it from behind the pocket and it looked as though it was going to stay there, and it dropped in. I mean, things like that can win you a frame. And with a 30-odd point deficit, had that red not dropped, it would have almost certainly cost him the frame.
Yellow ball. Judd Trump, 1.
That Grand Prix meeting, their very first of the 21 they've contested, was significant for Neil Robertson insofar as it set him on his way to his first ever ranking title. And of course, he's won at least one tournament every season since then. He'd love to add that one for a third time. Trump, of course, going for his second 9 years after his first.
Well, that wasn't badly played from Neil, but it's slightly gone wrong for him. He's promoted one of the reds that was near the pocket to almost right over it, so Judd will be interested in this. He'll be trying somehow to knock that red in. There are various ways he could do it. The red that's on the side cushion, he can play onto it. We may be able to cut another red onto it, the one that's next to it. Oh, well played. And that's handy for Judd. He's developed another red to the left centre. He's on the blue quite nicely. Chance to get back into this frame now.
Six.
Trump's toughest assignment this week, I guess inevitably, came in the shape of Kyren Wilson, who of course prevented him from becoming the first player to successfully defend the world title back in the summer when he beat Trump in the quarterfinals 13-9. And he came back at him from 3-0 down, Kyren, but again Trump had the last word, as he so often has since he won the first of his 3 Northern Ireland Open titles, to set him on this trend of relentless victories.
See, this is what Judd is brilliant at. Judd's great at assessing the position of the balls and understanding what he needs to do, what colours he needs out in the open to win a frame. So he took the opportunity there to try and bring the black into play, and probably the red next to it, which he has done. does that better than anybody else, I feel, Judd. But I think he'll admit himself that on occasion, his cue ball control can let him down.
He has an incredible ability, doesn't he, to retrieve unpromising situations if he does run out of position. His opponent never feels safe because he's capable of producing a spellbinding pot to get himself back up and running again. He's done it time and time again. He's also brilliant at engineering breaks when the balls look so unpromising.
Judd would have been happier not to cannon the blue at all there. Can only really pot one of the reds, the thin snick into the left centre, but he's going to have to do a little bit of work to regain position on a colour. Ooh, did that cue ball just rebound a little on the square side there? I think he was expecting it to skid a little more, and maybe cannon the pink into play. Well, if he takes a black on, that really would be a bold shot choice.
Bravo.
A typically tense, tight opening frame in a major final.
Judd Trump, 70.
Very interesting first frame this between these two. Both have had good chances, particularly Neil Robertson earlier on. And he does have that useful 22 points advantage as the frame time approaches 20 minutes. Won't see many of that duration during the course of this final, I don't think.
Statistics can be most misleading, can't they? An average shot time for Judd Trump of 34 seconds. It's frankly irrelevant at this stage. Remember, he took 2 minutes thinking about how to get out of the snooker at the start of this frame. And in the end, had a hit and hope. Missed the reds altogether. Robertson getting in. But this frame is still clearly right in the balance with 51 still available on the table. Robertson sporting his Triple Crown motif, the 8th player to complete World, UK and Masters titles. He did it at the 2012 Masters, beating Shaun Murphy. Of course, Judd Trump is the most recent recruit to that most exclusive of clubs. The 11th player to achieve it.
Judd can only see this red to the left, and I think we all know that he'll be taking it on. And if he wishes to play it with an element of safety, we may be seeing one of Judd's famous long screw-back shots here, back into bulk. He's going to power it in instead with topspin. He's just got a touch of angle to play with. Oh, brilliant shot.
There's another one for the highlights reel. What a stunning bit of cueing that is. And that satisfyingly dull thud as the ball cracked into the leather.
Six.
That really was an incredible red, you know. To power it in when you're that close to the bulk rail, your cueing has to be so precise.
It's the percentage of shots
7.
like that he gets that's off the scale. I remember in his final demolition of John Higgins to win the world title, where he was pretty much faultless over 2 days against one of the greats who only won 9 frames, even though Higgins played well. He was potting some balls that had to be seen to be believed, and even then he struggled to believe it.
I think it'll hurt Neil Robertson should he go on to lose this frame with the chances that he had earlier on in it.
11.
But it was a good safety shot that he played. That was just a magnificent red that Judd knocked him, but he couldn't see the other 2 reds. Probably that's why he went for
12.
it, but that's a mistake from Judd. Well short of pace here on the blue. So good positional shot required to the yellow.
Judd Trump, 12.
The intrigue continues. Let off that for Neil Robertson. I'm sure he didn't think he was going to win this frame or have a chance to.
That's a good shot, and it should be a frame winner. Robertson only needs green and brown.
Five.
Judd will be mildly livid with himself for not winning the frame with that terrific opening red that gave him that golden chance. But amazingly, he left that cue ball so short of pace for the blue. Trying to hold for the yellow, he missed the pot on the blue.
9.
Frame ball comes and goes. Trump needs a snooker. Given the position of the remaining colours, even assuming this blue doesn't go in, it was never going to happen. The blue does go.
14.
So it's been quite a tense opening duel. Both players have had chances, missed chances, and Judd Trump, overcutting the blue, has seen his
Robertson, 14,
opportunity
and the
punished.
first frame.
He nods his head. First blood to Robertson. He leads 1-0. Was a very tight
Thank you. The second frame.
and
Neil Robertson to
tension-packed opening frame of a possible 19. 10 is the target, 9 to be played this afternoon. The usual interval after 4, and that trophy in the background is what it's all about.
Reasonable break-off from Neil Robertson, but the problem is he snookered pretty much all the reds. But he has left another one of those types of long pot that Judd likes. Oh, it's a brilliant pot again. And you can bet your life he's still hurting after losing that first frame the way he did.
Maybe not as brilliant as the red he knocked in the first frame, but mighty good nonetheless, but not position to go with it, sadly, for Trump. So just the safety.
Judd Trump, 1.
Both of these players have outstanding long-range games. 2 of the absolute best in the history of the game. In fact, you could make a case for saying they're 1 and 2. I wouldn't like to say which is better. but they're right up there in the pantheon of all-time long potters for sure.
One.
A little on the near jaw, but sufficiently accurate enough to go in. Wasn't sure when I was looking at this angle.
The margins are going to be so fine today, aren't they, Dom? They're so evenly matched. Robertson rattling the red. And who knows, that could cost him the frame. And that's the standard we're talking about today. Just one little error here and there will be the difference between lifting the trophy and picking up the runners-up check for £80,000.
Absolutely. And once again, that side cushion. The cue ball bounced rather quickly off it, surprised Judd, and he played a shot in the first frame that surprised him just as much, I think, when trying to cannon the pink into play. So we'll keep an eye on that.
15. 16.
Chance for Judd
23.
here in potting this red to leave an angle on the black to just disturb that little group of reds.
24.
He's just checking to see if the bottommost red will pot into the right corner. Don't think he has enough angle on the black now to go into them. Perhaps a little shorter pace, so may play the red into the right centre here.
31. 32.
Played for the blue, I'm sure there, Judd, but he's gone a little high on it. So once again, he may have to play an alternative shot. He could still go into the pack of reds from the blue, but controlling the cue ball to perfection won't be quite so easy.
Oh, what a split this is. Typical Trump, blasting the reds asunder.
Stretching ball.
And a great chance to banish the disappointment of missing the blue in the first frame.
38.
Well, he really did control that cue ball at the pack opener. Played it absolutely fantastically well, but he is known for that. He's just a brilliant player at developing reds. Again, he's lost the cue ball, and this is really
45.
hurting Judd Trump. Had a chance to win the first frame, lost position on the blue, ended up losing the frame.
And as you can see, still 22 points away from leaving Robertson at the snooker's required stage. Well, surprising. It looked as though Trump was going to wrap that frame up at that visit, but he lost position and he's missed the red. And if the first frame hurt Judd Trump, this will be doubly painful if Robertson can punish him here. Got a couple of awkward reds.
1.
later in the break to think about.
Yeah, and all champions in snooker will realise psychologically the harm they can inflict on their opponent. Neil will certainly realise that if he can do something from this opportunity, maybe win this frame as well from here, it'll really hurt Judd Trump psychologically.
Four. Nine. 10.
Ronnie O'Sullivan has said on a number of occasions during this tournament that he regards Neil Robertson's cue action as the best in the game, and perhaps the best in the history of the game. That's some compliment. From Robertson's point of view, well, he reckons he's playing the best snooker of his life right now.
17.
And the figures certainly back that up. All that's missing, of course, this season is another trophy. If he wins today, he'll tie Judd Trump on 19 ranking titles and put him joint 6 on the all-time list. One ahead
18.
of Mark Selby.
I wonder if Neil there tried to leave himself an ankle on the black, just screw into that red on the side cushion. I think that's what he was looking to do.
$25. $26.
So this is where the fun starts. Lots of work for Robertson to do to turn this into a frame-winning opportunity. And the cannon hasn't quite worked out as he'd hoped. Trump breathes again.
32.
This was unlucky. Cannon the red into a very potable position, but to see the cue ball finish behind the blue was unfortunate. I don't think Neil now dare play a safety shot into bulk. He's going to have to leave the cue ball somewhere behind the black spot. But at least he can bring one of the awkward reds into play. He's still 14 points behind. Both players will need at least 2 of the 3 remaining reds, particularly him.
Neil Robertson,
Played
32.
the cheeky cocked hat double there, Neil Robertson, and that hasn't worked out for him. He's just knocked one of the reds into a very awkward position there.
One.
Very possible that Judd actually intended that double. Knew he was going to get a good cue ball.
Judd Trump, 1.
But no colour from it, so both these players are going to require remaining reds in order to win the frame. So could be a lot of snooker left in this frame yet.
Tough pot, particularly at that pace. And he's developed the reds.
Oh, was that pushing the boat out a little there for Judd? Playing it at that pace, was that a little injudicious? And does this red that's next to the blue pop past the yellow? It looks to. And if it goes in, a chance for 2-0.
No. Another reprieve for Judd Trump. There's no question there are nerves out there, and that is entirely to be expected. Even the very best are not immune to them.
They're very wary of each other, these two. Evident by those last two shots that we've seen. Now, can Neil get through to the red near the green pocket? I say, I thought Judd would have got that one, but wasn't to be. I'm not sure Neil can quite get through to the potting angle of the red by the green pocket. Well, I think he's been really unfortunate there, Neil. Yes, he did catch the safety a little on the thin side, but I think he's lined these two reds up for a plant for Judd. That was a great camera shot we saw. I don't think Judd's going to miss the plant, but where would the second red go? Doesn't want it to go on a cushion somewhere.
Well, that couldn't have worked out much better, could it? Trump will be very keen to put this chance away now. He's had a couple in the first two frames that have slipped by.
6.
These cushions are playing rather quickly so early on, you know. It's a bit of a concern.
Trump said after his victory in the semi-final against Lu Ning that the table was playing beautifully. But sometimes the characteristics of the table can change from one day to another for no apparent reason. Even without the cloth and the cushions being replaced, which they were ahead of the semi-finals. So 22 in front.
Yes, and that wasn't one of Judd's finest positional shots, but he had to clatter the red in to try and get some pace into the cue ball. Oh, but he's played a super shot there. That's a terrific positional shot.
11.
Goodness me. That is remarkable.
Judd Trump, 11.
How to explain that one?
Well,
Cue ball.
It was frame ball.
didn't seem to be a kick.
Would have put him 28 in front, just 25 left. edge of the seat stuff already in this eagerly anticipated showdown.
He's been very lucky to, one, not leave the yellow on for Neil, but I think he snookered him on it. But if Neil can just swerve around the green, play the yellow, well, he's going to come off 2 cushions instead. If he gets this right, oh, and he has, that's pretty good. Is anybody's frame this?
Sure, Robertson can't believe he's still in this frame after Trump missed the short-range yellow after such a brilliant positional shot. He'd love to have seen that brown go safe.
Oh, wouldn't he just? Wouldn't he just? That brown goes safe. Neil Robertson, in all likelihood, may need 2 chances to win the frame. But again, if that man there in your picture, Neil Robertson, can end up somehow potting the yellow and getting onto the green, he'll be favourite for 2-0.
Now the green's awkward too, so that's not helped Robertson's cause. Of course, he needs to clear up to win this frame. Trump would only need the yellow.
I think it's a little risky to try and get the cue ball in behind. The black, for instance, will play a really good telling safety shot here. Be highly likely to leave a pot on this yellow if he did.
Well, so close to dropping. It's all Trump needs to leave Robertson needing a snooker, and he will be a mighty relieved man. This would have really hurt this frame if he'd lost it. Having missed the yellow just now, that was an unmissable one.
2.
So 28 in front, 1 snooker required. No, you're kidding me. That's beyond belief.
Judd Trump 2. Neil Robertson 4.
And now Robertson can win again.
Where's this green going? It's by the blue somewhere. We'll see it in a minute.
Trump is going through agonies in the early stages of this final.
Wow, where's the green? Oh, there it is. Chance.
What else can happen in this frame? It's only the second of a possible 19. Feels like the mother of all deciders right now. Wow, says Robertson. Wow, indeed. Judd Trump gets another chance, and surely this time there'll be no mistake. It's now 2 snookers with the straightforward brown to follow. Well, what a roller coaster ride this frame has been. Hard to know where to begin, really.
7.
Trump has had it won at least 3 times and could have ended up losing it nonetheless, but he's won it now. And so he can
12.
forget about all of that.
18. And the frame.
Two frames down. And if the first two are anything to go by, you won't be able to take your eyes off this final. It's 1-1. Well, it all means it's as you were. One frame all. We start again. 19 possible frames. 10 is the magic number for the title. A further 7 this afternoon. Nothing in the way of breaks, but in terms of drama, it's already been packed to the rafters.
Foul on the miss. Judd Trump 4.
Well, he avoided leaving a free ball. Judd not interested in the long red shot to nothing that was left on for him. He's going to allow Neil to have another go at that.
Yeah. Judd, thank you.
Couldn't have played that any better.
Well struck safety from Judd, but he has potentially left a red on into the right corner, but he's also tied the black up with that safety shot that he's just played. He stuns around the back of the black here, Neil. He has to be careful of the in-off in the green pocket.
One.
We've already seen some fantastic long pots just in these first two frames. Now, is there any way that Neil can pot this red and develop the black? He may be perfect on this red. To maybe just flick that other red away from the black. It's very, very, very close.
Five. Neil Robertson 5.
There's so much respect between these two as well. Robertson has said that he's been inspired by Trump's extraordinary work ethic to push his game even further. He's also looked at the likes of Trump and Ronnie O'Sullivan and the way they keep themselves in shape during lockdown. He invested in some exercise equipment in a bid to improve his fitness even further. As we know, he's a vegan, takes very special care of what he eats. He's doing everything he can to maximise his game. quite nice to have a bit of a breather after the drama of the back end of frame 2. Both players just looking to recover from all of that. Trump's primary emotion will be relief, because certainly it seemed to be an unlosable frame for him, and it very nearly did slip through his fingers, but got it done in the end. But that's a mistake, catching the jaw.
Well, if Judd hasn't left this red on into the left corner, it could have saved him the frame, because there would have been an angle to bring the cue ball right through those reds for position onto the black in the same pocket. But from that camera angle, it looks extremely tight as to whether this pot's... Neil must think it goes, but my goodness, there's not much in it.
One. Seven. Eight. Thirteen.
Surely Neil has to play the red that's closest to this corner. He's blocking the black, and he can get nicely onto the black here.
14.
Just checking to see if the black will pot into the opposite corner. I don't think it quite does.
$21.
Not as straight on this red as he intended, so can cannon into a couple of reds above this one he's taking on and play for the pink in the left centre.
$22.
Neil Robertson is just 2 centuries off the all-time record for the UK Championship, held jointly by Ronnie O'Sullivan and Stephen Hendry at 12. The first player, of course, to make a century of centuries back in 2013-14, an achievement matched by his opponent today last season.
$29.
Hasn't come the right side of the blue here, Neil. And I can't see any easy red that he can play for now if he takes the blue. Struck the shot quite nicely. The red went into the middle of the pocket. If he wants to get really good position, we'll have to play yellow or brown.
33.
Yes, terrific retrieving pot. That's a sign of the confidence Robertson's feeling in his game right now.
34.
Three titles last season, 3 ranking titles the season before, the first time he'd achieved that in a single campaign.
41.
And yet it was just 3 years ago when he arrived at the Scottish Open following this UK Championship that he'd actually slipped out of the top 16. Hard to believe that now. But that Scottish Open triumph
42.
against Chow Yu-peng from the brink of defeat, 4 down with 5 to play, was the catalyst for the kind of form he's now producing week in, week out.
47. $48. $55.
So the first half century of the final, and just this red and the black should put Robertson back into the lead,
56.
which could very easily have been 3-0. Two snookers.
63.
So this red to make absolutely sure.
$64.
So after the drama, almost melodrama of the second frame,
69.
normal order being restored here by Neil Robertson.
Robertson 69 and the frame.
A break of 69 after the crazy ending to frame 2 puts Neil Robertson back in front in the UK final by 2 frames.
Center break.
It would be a miracle to win this tournament after winning 2 already in the early stages of this season, but he's been performing miracles pretty regularly in the last 2 years, and for Neil Robertson the only thing that's been missing at the start of this season is a trophy. So this final frame before the first interval.
And a mistake from Judd Trump, but you can see the cannon on the yellow has helped him. It snookered the red to the corner pocket, but shouldn't be a problem for Neil to come off the side cushion and clip it in. The problem is the cue ball could go anywhere, including into the pack of reds. He may decide to play the other red that's near the blue onto it, try and plant it in. Positionally, it offers him more security. Well played, that's exactly how he wished to play the shot. Leave himself a mid-range blue to the yellow pocket. And this is the type of blue that he practiced quite a lot of. Neil would love a good angle here on the blue again, probably to the left centre, to play for that red that's next to the black, which is causing him problems. He's decided to screw across the back of the black for position on it here. It's gone wrong, unfortunately. He may be able to pot the black and promote the red that's next to it. If he can't, he'll struggle to get on a red hit. Couldn't do anything really except roll the black in because of the proximity of the cue ball to the left-hand side cushion, but he may try a double here, Neil. It's the only ball he could leave, but the pack should hide it, so it's basically a free go to continue the break.
Neil Robertson, 14.
I think Neil's looking maybe to play the red that's near the centre pocket back towards the black spot end and rebound the cue ball off the bottom jaw, the middle pocket, which should propel it back to bulk. Or is he going to even take it on now? Didn't get into the cue ball. Now where's this red going to finish? Well, luckily for Neil, I think it's hidden by the pink.
Judd Trump has won his last 15 matches, and he did say ahead of this final that he has found the week a little bit draining mentally, and that the sheer volume of snooker he's been playing, because he's been getting to the sharp end of all of these events, winning a lot of them, has taken its toll. But of course, Neil Robertson, as Colin pointed out, has been playing a lot of snooker himself. And there's no let-up, because tomorrow it's the third leg of the Home Nations live here on Eurosport, the Scottish Open. Dominic will be hot-footing it back to Milton Keynes from our studios in London, having hot-footed it from Milton Keynes to London this morning after his COVID test.
Yes, that's right, Phil. Done rather a lot of travelling today. I was up at 6:30 this morning.
That's unheard of for you, isn't it?
No, I normally arise around 6 AM most mornings. I'm an early bird. Judd spotted the chance of a plant there. Julie knocked it in. Oh, yeah, that cue ball seemed to come off that bulk cushion pretty quick. So, can't see any colour that Judd would risk here.
Judd Trump, a 1.
Wow, how do you get this safe? If you could get the cue ball towards the red that's on the top cushion near the right corner, all well and good, but with all of those reds near that right-hand side cushion, I just can't see how on earth Neil Robertson can get the cue ball anywhere near that red that's on the top cushion. I'm yet to be able to spot a shot that he can play here. Neil would hate to play a hit and hope shot. It's not his type of thing at all, but sometimes it's the right shot, and that may be so here. There is a gap between two of the reds that are near that right-hand side cushion. But the problem is, if he plays around the angles, I think the blue's going to be in the way to try and find that gap. Oh, he so nearly got away with that.
Judd Trump 4.
Yes. Had it stayed on the lip of the pocket, as it looked like it might do, would have been a great result.
Well, even though the cue ball's gone in, it may not be all that bad. If Judd were to place a cue ball near the green, I still don't think he can get through to the red near the right corner. It's amazing, isn't it? You play a hit and hope. It's amazing how many times you get away with something like that.
But it has enabled Trump to put Robertson in trouble again.
A rueful grin from Neil.
Yeah,
he's wondering whether he'll have to play the same shot again here.
I was going to say, this is no less appetising than the one he was faced with a moment ago, is it?
Well, there certainly aren't any reds on cushions to just roll up to now.
This frame isn't doing anything for Robertson's average shot time, but that's not his fault. So Judd Trump is presented with a chance to share the spoils before the interval, which would be a really good result for him, given that he's not really settled into this final yet. What can he make of this chance?
Could have left things a little easier for Judd from a positional angle. The red that's near the right corner, Judd would have to try and screw back for the pink for and avoid cannoning into other balls. The easiest shot he can play, being left-handed, is this one here. For the black in the same pocket, probably. But it's a delicate little shot and easily missed.
And also wary, as you can see, of the red under his body.
One.
But he's found a way with that trademark cue power of his to navigate his way through the reds and get on the pink.
Well, don't know about found a way. Pure luck in the end, but he had to trust to it. There was no other way he could get the cue ball away from all of those reds.
And now this is a really good chance.
Seven. Eight. 15. 16. 23. 24. 31. 32.
That could have gone wrong for Judd, but the cannons worked out in the end.
$37. 38. 43.
67 should be enough in total for Trump to level the match at the interval.
44. 50.
These players are famed for knocking in the big breaks for fun. This has been a very different mini session.
51.
Tense, tight, and very eventful. But it looks as though Trump is going to emerge unscathed at level pegging. Red in the colour.
57.
Of the high value variety. Should be all right.
Wasn't a good red to pink that Judd played though previously. Had to use the side cushion and try and come back across. It should have been a simple positional shot.
That was the all-important red. It's disappeared.
$63. 64.
Neil Robertson found himself in a couple of fiendish snookers, which he really was powerless to do anything about, beyond hoping he got lucky. He didn't. And Judd Trump has gratefully accepted the opportunity
70.
to level this match once again.
$71. $78. 79. 79 and the frame.
A 79 break from Judd Trump. What a start to the final. You can't take your eyes off this one. It's been compelling stuff. And it's honours even at the first interval. Judd
Trump in a dream UK Championship final. It was hit and miss the first 4 frames. It was ebb and flow the first 4 frames. And the upshot is, we're none the wiser. We did say it would go all the way. Neil Foles, we didn't really think it would start like that. Both players maybe realising the magnitude of this occasion.
Yeah, and it was interesting because Judd last night mentioned that it could be a little cagey early on. He said that because he kind of has experience of these finals. We hype them up, the players are pumped for them, and they don't always start in the way you think, you know. But this was particularly nervy today.
Jimmy, let's have a look at frame 1. And even though you'll pull out a few bad shots, Mavia, they're bad. There was still some magic in there.
Absolutely. You know, this shot here, he's got to be dead straight, cueing. You know, he's under pressure because there's 2 other reds left on the table. You know, he misses this, he does the game. And this is an absolute, you know, it's like hitting a driver as far as you can, you know, absolute perfect cueing right down the middle of the cue ball, perfect on the blue. Fantastic shot.
Yeah, and then it looked like he was going to pull this frame out of the bag because the pink and black was safe all the way through. He just didn't quite get on the blue right, so now he's got that awkward shot. But this was a real good shot of Neil Robertson's on the yellow.
Absolutely. You know, this is just to pot it. It's as natural to come off with 3 cushions perfect on the green, you know, and goes on to win the first frame. That game could have gone anyway.
Yeah, if this was 1984, we'd give out the Eurosport address when it comes to frame 2, and we'd simply say answers in a postcard, folks.
Well, I mean, there was 2 shots that Judd played here. I don't think he's played 2 worse shots in the last 3 or 4 years, you know. This was the first one, and he's frame ball, don't forget. He's not even, whether he gets on the green is irrelevant. He's 26 in front. That's a terrible miss. But it was only one shot I've seen worse, and it was the next shot we're going to show you, because at the moment, Robertson needs a snooker, and he's gone in off. And that is elementary stuff, schoolboy stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, and what Neil, there is an argument here. Dominic Dow said it in commentary that he could have placed the cue ball where he could have gone for the green and snookered him behind the blue, but the brown might have been a bit thin. But that was a big miss there from Robbo. That was a good opportunity to go 2-0 up. Out the 2 in the interval, Robbo will be more disappointed than Trump, that's for sure. OK, so much more when we come back. We'll also show you the draw for the Masters and the first round. Exclusive coverage of the Scottish Open. That starts tomorrow at 12:45.
one match at a time, and this is the one that we all wanted. Neil Robertson against Judd Trump, 2-2 as it stands at the moment, Jimmy. Don't really need to show much of the third frame. It was the cleanest, really, of the four. Yeah,
it was, you know, sort of the only time where it looked like it was going to be done in one visit. You know, there was a good positional play in that. The first two frames, you would have to say, was a bit scrappy. It seems to starting to get a grip now.
Yeah. Let's have a look at frame 4. Neil, choose your adjective. Reckless, surprising, aggressive from Robertson?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, he did something I've not seen him do. He did it 2 shots in a row. He did what O'Sullivan did against Selby in the World Championships. Okay, he's in the snooker. He's thinking, I don't know what to play here. It's one of those situations where he's gone in off. He's probably trying to fluke one. You know, as I say, Ronnie was doing this shot, and it was kind of it unsettled Selby a bit. And the very next shot, well, he's done exactly the same thing.
Wow.
Now, I don't think there was an easy shot to hit. If he'd have rolled up to the bunch, fair enough. Interestingly, Jimmy, Judd plays a shot here that's not dissimilar to get out.
No, brilliant shot here. You know, actually, I think he's played the path there, but not to become as perfect as he did. He's actually hit 4 reds, but he was always going to hit the first one and the second one, not so much the third one. So he sort of he worked his route, but is a little bit fortunate to come to perfect on the pink, but still a good shot.
What's your take, Jimmy White, on Robbo in frame 4? Because he did tell us live on Eurosport, I'm being more aggressive with my safety, I'm catching them thicker. But he's not playing Selby here, he's playing Judd Trump.
Yeah, I think Neil Robertson, to win these Triple Crowns, he has to open up the balls. His natural game is to get fluid and keep break building, you know, and when he keeps it too tight with the likes of Mark Selby, he's second best for me. But this is the way he's doing it. But if you don't get the cue ball on the cushion with Judd Trump, he's going to knock him in.
It's intriguing. So many storylines already. It's 8 frames this afternoon. This is the tail of the tape. They'll just be made the top 16 on Planet Snooker. Well, Robertson and Trump are in different halves of the draw. That's obvious there. Jimmy, what catches your eye?
Well, obviously, Ronnie O'Sullivan, Ding Junhui, very tough game. John Higgins, Mark Allen, they're all good matchups. But, you know, there's another one there. Teptar Noon against Bingham, the defending champion. That's a really tough game for Stuart.
Yeah. 2 of those 3 games that Jimmy's picked out, Neil, bottom quarter of the draw, so that's delicious. What's your take?
Yeah, I think that the 2 guys playing today won't be too disappointed with who they're playing. You know, Judd is playing David Gilbert, of course, top player, but you know, Judd will be a strong favourite. Of course, Neil Robertson against Yan Bingtao, so that's a good draw as well. You know, interestingly, Kyron Wilson plays our old friend Jack Lisowski, who's got a good record against Kyron Wilson. He's one of the players he beats, so that's a good chance for him.
If those matches, though, go with the favourites, Trump Wilson in the quarterfinals of the Masters, of course, Jimmy. Of course, they have to play each other again.
Yeah, that's just, you know, they might as well start practicing together. They play so often.
Could be looking at Robertson Selby again, which is becoming a big modern day battle of Triple Crown event.
Yeah, I mean, look, these are the top players, aren't they? And you know, they're going to be meeting all the time. You know, it is interesting though. The Masters sometimes throws up a few little different sort of outcomes in that. It's not a ranking event, and there are players that come alive, and that was the case with Bingham last year. He hadn't done anything, and then he came and won the Masters, you know, and beat Ali Carter in the final. So it doesn't always go to plan, but it's a great event. You know, I'm looking forward to it, and if there's some crowd in there, that would be something, you know, that we've all missed and we would love to see. Yeah, and top 16, thankfully, where Ronnie definitely playing, as he told us live on air yesterday. Back to what we're saying right here, of course, in the UK Championship final. Jimmy, you said after the first frame, 26 minutes, you said called sneaky favourites, the longest frame of the match. I didn't take that bet because you're probably right. They'll have went back mid-session. They'll take in what's happening. I expect this to...
Well, we're looking at two of the finest break builders and the most prolific in the history of the game. But when they do start to make the odd mistake, it's arguably even more fun, more compelling. And those first 4 frames were, for the better part of it, a bit of a roller coaster ride. So what do the next 4 have in store for us before we resume at 7 o'clock this evening? 10, of course, is the target. This is their 22nd meeting. Judd Trump leads the head-to-head 12-9. It's their 7th final. Trump has won 4 of the 6, including the last couple. Most recently, the English Open, when Robertson was on the cusp, leading 7-4, only for Trump to eventually win the decider via one of those centuries of his. So far today, the scoring has been modest, but the drama has been A+.
Foul and a miss.
Rather
Judd Trump.
tentatively played that from Neil. Even if he had just the correct line of the shot, it was never hard enough. But judging the line of the shot is imperative, because it's very easy to go around the back of this red and leave it on. Well, obviously that cue ball can't possibly have been there. He was snookered on everything.
No, you couldn't.
I think they'll need to get this up again, actually, because I thought the cue ball was a bit closer to the yellow as well.
Yeah, Judd, thank you.
Was the cue ball that far away from the yellow? OK, well, both players and the referee are happy enough. Oh, he has gone around the back of the red.
And a miss.
And does it
Judd
cut
Trump.
in? It's always the case after an interval, you have to refocus, try and reattain those high concentration levels that were in evidence at the end of that little mini session of 4 frames that we've just seen. Well, if Neil Robertson isn't on a red here...
6.
Bitterly unfortunate. But there may be a cut on into this left corner, but it's not what he wanted to have to play. Look at that, they're all covering each other. Now what about this red to the left of the cue ball? Does it cut in? He's not on that. Well, he's so unfortunate, and it can make a massive difference, run of the ball, in the context of whoever wins this match, because there's nothing to choose between them, really.
Seven.
Played this with left-hand side, check side, just to try and slow the path of the cue ball slightly. He'll be pretty happy with where it's finished.
Twelve. 13.
Although the first 4 frames of this final have been characterised more by nerves and tension, you get the distinct feeling that if one suddenly bursts into life with one of their trademark big breaks, the other is likely to follow suit. That's the beauty of a long final like this.
20.
So many opportunities for different strands of the story to unfold over the mini sessions.
28. 29.
Is Neil just a touch straight on this red?
36.
To power that in to get onto the black.
$44.
76 is the target for Robertson to take the lead for the 3rd time.
45.
Trump missed a thin cut on a red to the right corner at the start of this frame.
$50. 51.
Signs here that Robertson is beginning to find his groove.
58.
Made a 69 break to lead 2-1. Judd Trump watching on and resigning himself, I would have thought, to a 3-2 deficit.
We haven't really mentioned it a great deal,
59.
but I think it's true to say that with all the snooker that Judd has played of late, if Neil Robertson could somehow forge ahead in this match by a couple of frames, Judd Trump might find it difficult to come back at him, because when
66.
you are behind in a match, it does take a little bit more out of you to try and come back into the game.
67.
And I think if Neil could somehow eke out a small advantage of a couple of frames, it could be quite telling.
Yes, I guess it's a question of how often you can keep going to the well. Trump has done it
74.
so many times in the last couple of years, coming from behind, as he did against Robertson in the English Open final.
75.
Staying in front when his opponent has applied the pressure, as Ronnie O'Sullivan has done in the trio of Northern Ireland Open finals, all won by Trump 9-7. But are the reserves of energy a little low? We shall see. One thing's for certain, Robertson
82.
is moving back in front, and he's looking as good as he has
83.
throughout the rounds here at the UK Championship. This will be century number 11 if he can complete it. Just one away from the record.
'89, 90.
And it was a good red, wasn't it, that he got in with, because initially it looked as though he might be out of luck having split them. But he controlled that thin
96.
cut on the red to left corner very nicely. Maintained position, and this is the result.
97. $102.
Where's the applause?
I was just thinking the same thing.
Century number 754.
103.
39th of the season for Robertson. And now just one behind Trump once again in the all-time list.
Neil Robertson, 103.
Neil Robertson has moved through the gears after the interval. A century break and a 3-2 lead. Final, Neil Robertson has just upped to the ante. A first century of this title match. His 39th of the season. 754th of his
36. Neil
already
Robertson to break.
stellar career. Would he have dreamed of the kind of success he's had when he first appeared on the tour as a teenager? Lost his place, questioned whether he was good enough, wondered whether he could make the move successfully all the way from Melbourne to become a top professional. He's answered all of those questions emphatically. Looking to add his third UK title 5 years after his second. And what a performance it was in 2015 when he beat Liang Wenbo, making a maximum break in the final, the first in Triple Crown history in the title match. The first non-British final in the UK Championship. But that's the last of his Triple Crown successes, and he's very keen to add a fifth this afternoon and this evening. Didn't plan on the double kiss, however.
No, a surprising mistake from Neil. The red seemed to sort of kick strange off the baulk cushion back towards the cue ball, as though it had some sort of weird spin on it.
1.
Now choices for Judd. Can play for the loose red that's next to the black. Will play the green with power. Split them open. He's played the positional
5.
aspects of that shot beautifully, Judd. Pace was perfectly judged. Oh, he's allowed
6.
that cue ball to drift on there. Still got a good angle to go into the pack of reds with, but the pace he's going to be playing this black with makes it missable from where he's left the cue ball here. I think you could say he played that with conviction.
He doesn't die wondering when he splits the bunch, does he? Just
14.
signs that this final is about to take off.
$17. 18. 21. 22.
Just about okay on the black, almost overrun it.
$29. 30. 37.
68 points
38.
to get him to the winning line and to draw level for the third time this afternoon.
46.
Just misjudged the pace of that one. Wanted to be straight on the red to left
53.
corner to run through for the black. He's left himself a lot of work to do here. Pink and blue a little tied up there. So he's going to have to do something with the cue ball here.
54.
That's far from ideal, but at least he can cut the brown in without having to cue over the green. Once again, maybe a round of applause was slightly misplaced. Judd's not ideal on this red.
Caught the near jaw.
58.
And the frame is not yet safe. 58 the lead. But still 6 reds on the table. Plenty of points for Neil Robertson, but very awkward with the cue ball on this red.
Neil will be very pleased that Judd missed the red, of course, but from Judd's point of view, he's rather fortunate. He's left cueing so awkward.
Trump's going to need 2 more reds to make the frame safe.
But if Neil can play the red he's looking at there, he can bring both of them into play. Leave the cue ball on the baulk cushion. Bit of a problem this for Judd. Can't play a safety back into baulk without risking cannoning into other balls on its return. As you can see, there's a gap through to this red, but there is pressure on it. No guarantee they'll leave things safe if this doesn't go in.
1.
Black from Judd, as you see, 66 ahead.
8.
Just needs this one red to draw level at 3-all, barring snookers.
And initially got in, courtesy of Neil Robertson, double kissing when playing safe. Didn't quite kill off the frame at the first bite of the cherry.
9.
But it looks like he's done so now, and there's still nothing to choose between these two snooker titans.
Blue ball.
And this frame is definitely done now.
14.
Trump may not have fired on all
15.
cylinders yet, but he's staying in touch with Neil Robertson, who made the century in the previous frame. Trump has responded.
$22. 23. 30. 31. 31.
Two more frames to go in this first session. Can one of these two players forge a first session lead this evening, or can
Frame
one of
7.
these two players
Trump to
emerge with a very handy two-frame advantage? Trump to break off in frame 7. And if you miss the Masters draw, plenty of eye-catching ties to look forward to at Ali Pali in the new year. You can't go wrong, can you, when you've got the 16 best players in the world? Trump plays Dave Gilbert, former world semi-finalist, of course. Robertson will be up against the youngest ever ranking finalist, Yan Bingtao of China. And Ronnie O'Sullivan, bidding to break his own record of 7 Masters crowns, starts out against the 3 times UK champion Ding Junhui. Stuart Bingham against Tepchira Nu also looks like a match to savour. And it is to be hoped that it will be staged, as is the plan at Alexandra Palace, with a crowd.
Wonder here if Neil feels the red that's next to the black is cuttable, or whether he's just going to play a safety off the pack of reds. Just checking to see if there's any likelihood of a ball finishing near the left corner. It's a big frame, this 7th frame, really, because whoever wins it is at least guaranteed not to be behind when the evening session commences. Neil's crown there, you can just see he's lost a couple of the little baubles on the tops. Bold shot selection there from Neil. Could it be costly?
Six. Seven.
Well, there you go. Trump yet to miss from long range. Of course, he did miss what was for him a very straightforward yellow, which looked as though it might cost him that crazy second frame. And then when he eventually potted it and left Robertson needing a snooker, he went in off on the green, which could have cost him 2. That would have been 2-0. But now beginning to settle into this final and with the chance to lead for the first time.
$14.
Wow, clearly the black won't
15.
pot into this left corner. Judd having to play the cue ball around the angles. Back across to the black in the same pocket as the red. Oh, an unwanted cannon there. It's put Judd out of position.
22.
Can he get through to the red that's near the left centre? Don't think he can. Well, there's a potential 3-ball plant that Judd just studied. A swerve around the pink to pop the red. Not quite enough
22.
swerve applied to the cue ball. So that's end of break.
1.
Well, that's a fabulous pot from Neil Robertson. He's missed a couple of difficult pots to give himself a chance to win a vital frame. But that was a great one that he knocked in there.
Awkward cueing, could easily have left a red for Trump had he missed it. And another super positive shot from Robertson.
4.
Plenty of action on that cue ball.
Yeah, played it well. He's just a little unlucky that that red has come down and blocked the black a little. Although saying that, I don't think it goes into this left corner anyway, but it's clearly available into the right corner.
Five.
Sure, Neil will look for an angle here on the black to stun up into the two reds together that are above the black. That would leave him in good position for a choice of reds.
$11.
Doesn't look to me to be a very good angle he's left himself here on the black. Looks a little on the straight side. Played this shot well
18.
though. I don't think it was his initial intention to have to cannon into those two reds.
90. $26.
Or was that the key shot for Neil Robertson to go on and win this 7th frame now? And once again, re-establish that 1 frame advantage.
$27. $34. $35.
Sure, Neil intended to leave himself high side of the blue, but he can still play for the red that's next to the yellow, possibly into the right centre. As for those other 5 reds around the pink spot area, they all look to be in one another's way.
$40. $41.
Well, this time perfectly on the blue, and he may have to play a little delicate cannon into either the pink or the red to the right of it here. Just depends if the red that's nearest the pink spot will go. Well, it obviously does.
He's manufactured this break very nicely, hasn't he? This is the initial red.
46.
Tough cueing. Reminiscent of that brown, actually, that Stephen Hendry potted at a crucial juncture of his world final with Jimmy White in 1992, when it was an all-or-nothing shot. That wasn't quite all or nothing, but it was great cueing that could have left Trump a chance had he missed it. And then the
47.
tremendous positional shot to get into the pack. He's cueing very nicely again, Robertson. Can he now convert this into a 4-3 lead? To lead for the 4th time this afternoon.
$52. $53.
Judd Trump will be fearing the worst in this frame now. And steeling himself to try and level for the 4th time and go into the evening session dead level. This is the red he missed, just
60.
catching the jaw and imparting a bit of side spin. And that looks like
61.
being his final meaningful shot of this frame. Yeah, that's frame ball. Very well taken break
68.
from Neil Robertson. Made a century to go 3-2 up. Trump responded again.
69.
And you
76.
can be sure he'll want another one here to tie the all-time record of centuries in a single
77.
UK championship. No surprise at all to learn that it's Messrs O'Sullivan and Hendry who share that record.
It's been an amazing break, this from Neil Robertson, as so many of his centuries are.
83.
Standard of potting and break building that this man's capable of. It's quite exceptional.
$85.
He's talked this week
88.
to Colin and the guys in the studio about his hunger for centuries. He just loves making them. He loves clearing the table, entertaining the millions watching at home in the process.
92.
Just as Stephen Hendry in particular did before him. Hendry, of course, who offered Robertson advice on how to go about building his breaks a few seasons back. Advice which
97.
the Melbourne left-hander took to heart, and, well, you can see the results. Absolutely magnificent break. And now he's dead level with Trump again on 7.55 for his career.
110.
He clears the
And the frame.
table. Some of the shots in that break were far from straightforward. It mattered not to Robertson, who leads 4-3. Irving into the left centre. So let's just remind you of where we stand in the all-time list. Ronnie O'Sullivan still way out in front with 1,070. John Higgins in second place, having recently overtaken Stephen Hendry. But look at that. Robertson now on 755 to match Judd Trump. It's his 12th of the tournament. Record equaling 12th, along with O'Sullivan and Hendry. Tremendous standard.
It makes you wonder, Phil, doesn't it? You know, if you've made 1,070 centuries in your professional career, how many of you've made in total in your practicing and everything that you do? You know, it's. I mean, I don't know how many centuries I've made, maybe 4,000 or 5,000 in total, but to make 1,000 as a professional player is in tournaments is incredible.
Yes, and every chance that Trump and Robertson will eclipse Ronnie O'Sullivan's mark one day. Remember, Trump is only 31 years of age. He's got potentially another 15 years at the top if he maintains his passion and his drive. And Robertson's a very young 38. We know how fit he is and how well he looks after himself. So many more centuries to come from this pair. But it's down to Judd Trump now to respond once again, as he's done throughout the afternoon, playing catch-up from frame one as he looks to share this session. And then we'll start all over again for what should be a thrilling finale from 7 o'clock tonight. He's bound to be feeling a bit fatigued, Trump, mentally as much as anything, after the astonishing run of success he's had. 15 consecutive match wins coming into this final, remember, and he did say that it's beginning to take its toll, but he equally said that he's very inspired to put the cherry on the cake today by claiming his second UK crown. Neil Robertson, of course, equally motivated to win his third. And what would be his first Triple Crown title since he won this for a second time.
The final frame of this session.
2015.
Neil Robertson to break.
So can Neil Robertson forge an advantage going into session two?
Could be a little bit of nerves and tension in evidence in this final frame of the afternoon session. Big frame for Judd Trump, doesn't want to fall 2 frames behind, and equally it's a big frame for Neil Robertson, who'd love to take a 2-frame advantage going in to this evening's session. Potential plant there, maybe. It can be made, but you'd have to hit the first red on the thin side. It's called a reverse plant. That would actually kick the second red to the left as we look towards the pocket. Problem is, if he plays that type of shot, the cube will be going very near that pack of reds. Very, very, very dangerous shot to play this. I don't know what's wrong with the straightest red to the right corner. He could run through for the black for that.
I think he was pretty sure he was getting it.
Absolutely, Phil. That's the reason he played it the way he did. In his mind, he couldn't miss the plant. There you saw her hit it way on the right as we looked.
It was the black that's actually done most of that damage to the reds, splitting them all over the shop. And look at the table now for Trump. Of course, a table like this, although on the face of it very inviting, brings the pressure of knowing you cannot afford a slip-up. Certainly, you can't avoid a slip-up in this situation against Neil Robertson. Look at that black going through the reds.
Well, straight away a slight positional error from Judd. The only good thing from his point of view is there are so many reds you could get on here. There you go. Look where he's finished there. You can't get through to the red near the right corner.
12.
You can't play the one that's near the left corner. That's blocked off. So all of a sudden, in no time at all, Judd's in all kinds of difficulty here. think he's going to have to take this mid-range red on into the left corner, but there's pressure on this.
And how? What a big shot this is. What a great shot that was.
13.
Gutsy stuff from the world #1.
Well, this is exactly what Judd Trump does so well. When he has to pot a ball, he invariably pots it. Now, where's the cue ball going this time? Just cleared the blue spot.
And look at that stat. We're not sure exactly
80.
how many he's taken on, but even by his standards from long range, to not miss one on a day when he's not necessarily fired on all cylinders yet. That's 9 out of 9. Incredible, really. But that one was arguably the best because of what it meant and what he'd be leaving if he missed it. Doesn't want his bow tie dropping down on that yellow. He's okay.
90. $25. $26. $30.
He's such an interesting player to watch, Judd. The way he makes breaks, sometimes the cue ball goes all over the place and he has to pull out recovery shots all the time. Done so 4 or 5 times in this break.
31.
He's still not in perfect position, really. Finally, cue ball is in A1 position now. Once again, that sidebar indicating that he needs to get to 68 before Neil Robertson will require a snooker.
$38. $43.
Absolutely nothing to choose between this pair.
44.
Two great rivals who've been playing at the absolute peak of their powers. And from the neutrals' point of view,
51.
4-all would do very nicely going into the finale this evening. Neil Robertson will be thinking otherwise, of course, and Just for a moment, looked as though he might have won a reprieve before Trump sunk that pressure red from long range.
52.
But he's got to keep it going.
Judd did make a misjudgment previously. He thought the red that was next to the black would still pot once the black was respotted, but it wouldn't.
$59.
Red colour red should do it.
$60.
So Judd Trump is one pot away
67.
from sharing the spoils at the midway point of this final. 4 times Neil Robertson has posed the question this afternoon, making 2 more centuries along the way to tie the all-time UK record of 12. But on 4 occasions now, Judd Trump has responded.
74.
And what a finale we have in store.
75.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating session, this. It really has. That plant that Judd played at the beginning of this frame to allow him to make this effort was remarkable, as was that pot there to keep the break going.
81.
Had he missed that, it could well have been 5-3 to Robertson. How important will this frame
82.
prove to be at the end of the evening? Judd Trump proving that even if he is feeling a little fatigued after his recent heroics, he is going to give it every fibre of his being to become a multiple UK champion.
88.
And Neil Robertson will be trying just as hard to make it a hat-trick.
89. $95. 96.
This will be century number 8 of the week for Trump. He's back in front again in this little battle for the first to reach 800. 756, 38 for the season.
103. $106. $110. $115. $121.
Half time in the UK final. The first half was cagey and nervy. The second half has seen the champagne snooker begin to flow, and it is perfectly poised ahead of the...
Live in Eurosport 1, and it doesn't matter how long it takes, you will see it all on one channel. Just sit down and enjoy it. 6:45, we're on air with Neil and Jimmy. And Jimmy, you called it, you said, that's it. We'll get the mid-session out of the way and we'll see their true form of this week. And boy, did we.
Oh, absolutely. You know, totally a game of 2 halves. You know, the first 4 frames, a little bit nervy, a couple of safety shots didn't go right. And then they've come out and played snooker like they've been playing all week. Absolutely top draw, century breaks, a couple of shots to keep the break going from Trump there have been phenomenal.
Yeah, first frame back out was frame 5, 103, folds in into frame 6, and a couple of lovely shots.
Because Judd is always playing catch up. You know, Neil has been in front 4 times basically, so he had to keep winning these frames. Frame 6, he got the bunch open, didn't he? Really well here. This was the key to it. And after that, really, the break you always felt it would happen. It was, I mean, when he goes into the bunch, he doesn't do it half measures, does he? He tries to just obliterate where the Reds were, you know, and put them in a different spot. He played a nice little cannon when the frame was won. It was a nice little shot. So we're just getting this sign now that both players are really moving up a gear, and that continued, didn't it?
When it comes to breaking up the Reds, I think Philip Studd had one of the best lines in commentary I've heard in a long time when he said he doesn't die wondering, does he, when he goes into... So it's a lovely line. In frame 7, the 755th century of Robbo's career to move level with, you know, Judd Trump.
Absolutely, and, you know, the start of that break, he's had to pot a red off the cushion. It's a really difficult shot here. You know, if he misses this shot into the green pocket, he's leaving everything for Judd Trump. You know, it's a nice confidence booster as well when you pop one of them. It's all about cueing. And then he goes into the pack after this and ends up making a century break. But, you know, that was a lovely shot there. There was an argument there where he could have played safe. Here's another aggressive shot, screws into the plant, gets the 2 reds out. You know, these boys, once they get their confidence and get going, all they want to do is clear up and make centuries. And we're lucky we can be watching it.
Yeah, terrific stuff, wasn't it? Then that just Robertson always that frame ahead. You know, that was the key to it, wasn't it?
And now Trump one ahead in the century guide. Wonderful to watch.
I know, he got in first, didn't he, crucially in this frame. If he'd have trailed 5-3, I think it would have been a significant point of the match, potentially. You know, now we've got it going again. But this plant was on. Well, and saying it was on, he had to actually just play the first red a little bit thin. He had to make it on. And then he put another good ball because he got slightly out of position here, but he drilled this red in. And at that point, you think, well, you know, he's not going to miss one now. He's potting everything. And, you know, both players have just hit their best form. And it can only get better tonight. But this was good stuff from Judd. And, you know, as I say, he's always been there hanging on a little bit in this session.
I think, Jimmy, if it had been 4-all, Trump would have just flown back to the hotel happy. And Robbo would have felt a little down if he'd come out of that not ahead.
Well, it is 4-all. Robbo's, you know, has been in front. You know, I think the first session, the second frame, you could go back to the second frame. He had a chance to be 2-0 up. You know, he has, as Neil said, he's been in front all the time. But Trump seems to have this extra gear when he gets under pressure. Even in his break, if he's not producing perfect positional shots, he's got his recovery shots to keep the break going.
Do you think psychologically, with it being 4-4, as I'm saying, I think I said it wrong, but do you think that Rob will feel like, how am I not ahead?
Yes and no, because he would just, you know, he's in the game. He's made a couple of centuries. He's scoring well. They're both playing well now, you know, and you don't expect a lot different from this. You know, when you've got two, so we say, gladiators at the top of their game, you know, it's tit for tat, and this is what's happening. You know, they got to admire the other player, and when they do get their opportunity, they've got to do the business.
He's right. What they've had this week is unshakable self-belief. Yeah. That's not going to go because of one century, one bad safety shot. But when you dig down, Neil, into the stats of those first 8 frames, what really jumps out at you?
Well, I think that what jumps out is that the first few frames were only human. We saw that there was a bit of nerves, there was a bit of tension there. But in the end, they're such good players that they're just going to be scoring, and it's kind of how we expected it to be in the second half. You know, I think Judd has been a little bit more fluent in the balls a little bit. His shots at times are a bit lower. You know, so. You know, I think it's all to play for now. I think what we do know already, and I think this afternoon's proved it, there's literally a blink of an eye between these two. It's one shot here that's good and one shot there that's bad is going to decide who becomes, you know, the UK champion, I think.
Well, it's our large team of stats people have been very, very busy with a century break. So let's go through where we are at the moment. It's changing all the time. We're going to start with centuries for this season, which is... This is all time first we're going to have a look at. Ronnie O'Sullivan at 1,070, way ahead. But it's not just a lovely battle there that's changed hands today again. Absolutely,
you know, brilliant. What a great extra thing to be playing for, you know. Both the same stable, both the 2 best players in the world at the moment, and got next door to each other centuries. Got great little bit of fun they're having with that.
And they can have a bit of fun with this as well. Neil Robertson on the season, just one ahead at the moment, Neil.
Yeah, one ahead on 39. Whether either can get to 100 centuries in the season, this season I don't know, because it's different. You know, there's a few tournaments not around, but you know those two are setting their own standards, aren't they, break-wise? And they're playing more matches because they're in finals, but they're knocking in all sorts of breaks.
Let's go one step further with the century graphics. Look at this, most centuries in a UK championship.
Wow.
So Neil Robertson in this tournament on 12 as it stands at the moment. One more. That beats Hendry in 84. It beats Ronnie in 2003. It beats Ding in 2019, Jimmy. Phenomenal.
Yeah, listen, and he's all about records, Neil Robertson. He'd know all about that, and I'm sure he'd do that tonight. And I think that'd be very difficult. He might even get to 14, who knows?
Yeah, that's Stephen Hendry. That when he got that 12, he made 7 in the final that year, didn't he, against Ken Doherty? So he made a lot of them in the final itself. These guys have been chipping away round after round, haven't they?
What I love is before we watched any of these 8 frames, not once in the studio did we say who's going to win. Because it's the most redundant question of the day, isn't it? And I feel exactly the same as we stand here now, Jimmy. It's just like, do you know what? Let's just get dinner over and get back out.
Absolutely. You know, completely being honest. You know, honestly, he's going to go to the last frame. You can just feel it. They've just that good, because when one puts the pressure on the other responds, vice versa. Not one of these players can control the other player. They're too good at the moment. They're both playing too well.
What a great point that Jimmy makes, Neil, when we've heard both players say consistently in this studio that throughout this tournament, they've always felt, direct quote, in control.
Yeah, that's right. Well, they're both... it's almost like you've normally got one player dominant in snooker, but now you've got 2 players that are equally in that position, and they're now up against each other locking horns. So it's going to be one shot here or there, I'm telling you tonight. I don't know who's going to win it, but it's going to be an error or some brilliance. Yeah.
It's only 4 o'clock now, so unfortunately we've got a little while to wait. 2 hours and 45 minutes until we're back right here on Eurosport, the 2020 UK Snooker Championship.